All right, welcome to this explainer where we're going to decode the SASB standards for water utilities, specifically looking at how to track and report your end-use efficiency. If you operate a water utility or analyze their financial sustainability, you already know that consumer-level water conservation isn't just a nice-to-have anymore. It's absolutely crucial for long-term resource availability. So today, we're going to break down exactly how the SASB framework helps you measure this. We'll be guiding you on how to disclose the percentage of your revenue derived from conservation-promoting rate structures, like decoupled rates, and how to track the total volume of customer water savings that actually result from your utility-supported measures. Let's jump right in.
Well, think about this for a second. It is the ultimate conservation paradox, right? Your utility desperately needs reliable revenue to maintain some seriously complex, expensive infrastructure. But on the flip side, environmental realities, government mandates, and just general shifting demographics are demanding that you sell less water. So how exactly do you balance those two opposing forces? How do you protect the bottom line while actively telling your customers to, buy less of your product? Okay, here's our roadmap for solving that exact paradox today. We'll hit the conservation paradox, look at revenue resilience, check out customer water savings, navigate through efficiency regulations, and finally, talk about securing a sustainable future. So, starting off with Section 1, the conservation paradox. Historically, selling more water literally meant making more money. That was the whole business model. But in a water-stressed world, relying on that traditional model creates a massive, glaring vulnerability. To survive, utilities have to work with regulators to mitigate revenue declines while at the same time increasing resource efficiency. And investors, they want to see that alignment. That is exactly where the SASB metrics come in. You've got IFW 420A.1, which tracks your revenue from conservation-promoting rate structures, and IFW 420A.2, which measures the actual physical cubic meters of customer water savings. Moving right along to Section 2, revenue resilience and metric 420A.1. This first metric focuses entirely on your rate structures. The goal here is to prove to the market that your financial health is completely insulated from the success of your conservation programs. And the foundational concept to understand here is decoupled rates. This basically severs the tie between your utility's fixed cost recovery and the actual volume of water you sell. So instead of relying on selling every last drop just to keep the lights on and cover overhead, your revenue is collected based on a regulatory determined requirement. It ensures your utility can cover fixed costs and deliver returns regardless of how much, or frankly, how little water volume is actually sold. It's a real game changer. Under this standard, you're required to disclose a very specific number. Investors want to know what exact percentage of your regulated water utility revenue actually comes from these decoupled, conservation-promoting structures. The math is straightforward. You just divide your regulated revenue from these specific structures by your total regulated water revenue. Doing this sends a loud, clear, quantitative signal to the market about your absolute financial resilience. Context is everything, though. What actually counts in that calculation? Well, lost revenue adjustment mechanisms, often called LRAMs, are included, but only if they estimate lost revenue based on a program's actual measured impacts. You can't just use hopeful forecasts. On the flip side, straight fixed variable rate designs, those are strictly excluded unless they feature distinct mechanisms that are explicitly designed to promote conservation. Accuracy and intent are absolutely paramount here. All right, let's jump to Section 3, Customer Water Savings, focusing on metric 420A.2. Now, we're shifting focus from your utilities revenue to the physical volume of water your customers are actually saving. You have to report these physical savings in cubic meters on a gross savings basis. Basically, that's the total change in consumption from program participants, regardless of why they decided to participate. However, for full transparency, the standard does note that you should also list the markets where you might additionally track net savings. Now, net savings are the changes specifically attributable to the program that absolutely would not have happened otherwise. To calculate all these savings without things turning into the Wild West, there is a very clear hierarchy of rules you have to follow. First, you always defer to your local EM&V. That's evaluation, measurement, and verification regulations. But if your market doesn't happen to have those local rules, you aren't off the hook. You then fall back to the international EVO IPM&V protocol, specifically Volume 1. I know, it sounds like a total mouthful of alphabet soup, but following this strict hierarchy ensures total consistency and reliability in the data you're handing over to investors. Section 4. Navigating efficiency regulations. So, beyond the raw data, investors really need the critical context of the specific efficiency regulations in your distinct markets. You've got to explicitly describe the policy mechanisms at play. We're talking about things like deferral decoupling, current period decoupling, single fixed variable rates, lost revenue adjustments, or even water efficiency fee bates. And don't just list them out. You need to outline their real financial effects, the benefits they unlock, and of course, the operational hurdles they might create for your utility.
Transparency is the name of the game here. The standard requires you to lay it all out. What is the actual amount or percentage of water savings required by your local regulations? Have there been any instances of noncompliance? If so, you need to be upfront and disclose the exact difference between the savings you delivered and what was legally required. Conversely, if you've knocked it out of the park and exceeded those requirements, you definitely want to disclose any energy or water efficiency performance incentives your utility has earned as a reward.
Finally, Section 5, securing a sustainable future. By providing these metrics and the surrounding regulatory context, you're painting a really compelling picture of a utility that is proactively managing one of its greatest systemic risks, water scarcity. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this question. Is your utility fully prepared to prove its financial resilience? As global water conservation efforts just continue to accelerate, simply selling more water is no longer a viable long-term strategy. But by leveraging the SASB end-use efficiency framework, you can clearly demonstrate that you have the decoupled rates and the efficiency programs in place to thrive. This ensures that even as your customers naturally use less water, your utility's future remains fundamentally secure.